Frieza log. Star date. Well, I can't see stars right now since I'm on a planet, but those who cross me will be seeing plenty of stars. Hey folks, MasakoX here. Now, this story is one of those which is basically a classic tale now here. Gone are the days where people would throw this concept in the bin immediately and say that it was completely impossible, and instead, people have actually flocked to it and see it as something that is actually impossible possible. I didn't think it could happen either, but it did. What is this, I hear you ask? Well, it's all to do with the decimation of the empire of a certain Lord Frieza. Instead of a traditional or even inelegant conversion to a good guy, Frieza's journey to somewhat redemption, despite his very extensive numbers of ended lives over the years, is one that needs to be taken in a manner which sees him realize what he's actually done when he doesn't have it anymore. Only then can we possibly see any sort of change in this guy that is true to himself. Does he become good? Well, sort of. It's sort of a situation where he is not as bad as he once was. To those jumping in right now, I welcome you to the fold, and to give you a quick rundown, as well as those who don't remember the initial episodes of the steps of this tale, Frieza in this world let Goku escape by aiding him in getting off Namek. But this was all a ruse, so as to eject him into space, and then get one over the monkey, which failed badly. King Cold was left doubting his progeny, and it led to his second son being cast out and living life as a drifter for the longest time, until he came across another batch of wanderers who figuratively snuggled together for companionship, with their now boss in Frieza now realizing that work and good deeds are actually pretty satisfying when he isn't being malevolent. That is now up to his younger brother, the now created third child of King Cold, Trojan. The pun, by the way, being liquid nitrogen, one of the coldest things in existence, and if you know the story up until now, you will soon understand why I named him Trojan. In the last part, Frieza was on a mission to prove to a now recovered Goku that he was on their side, and that was to aid the Saiyan's friends in stopping Dr. Gero unleashing his androids upon the world. Frieza was there to stop Android 17 from getting his way and escaping, leaving them and Android 16 transfixed with uncertainty and looking at an angry former emperor taking out his anger on them. Meanwhile, Cell is in the background, awaiting the time to pounce. As that's going on, Vegeta is lamenting his careless actions and is even getting Cooler in on the action as well, sort of joining forces maybe, with their now master. They didn't pick him, getting irate. Only the knowledge of Earth and the Dragon Balls there satiated his furrowed brow, and thanks to the idea of careless talk, it might soon cost more lives. With the 10th part coming up, we are about to see this tale really head towards its potential climax and possible evolution into something more. With Piccolo heading towards Kami's lookout, the Namekian is uncertain about what will happen going forward. When he gets to the home of his other half, the likes of Kami is fully aware of the younger's strife.
I would have very much appreciated you not getting in my head, and instead asked me in person. But yes, this whole situation is bad.
Kami sadly nods and then mentions that it's about to get worse.
There is another being lurking in the shadows, Piccolo, sucking the essence out of innocent people. Those robots that you are fighting against are small fry in comparison to that terror. Think of the damage that this could inflict upon the planet. That is why I called you here. I fear that I have no choice but to ask you one of the most important questions of my life, and possibly my last as you know me.
Piccolo is left perplexed, but this is when he starts to cobble together what Kami is trying to say and stumble over.
What? You mean fusing? With you? Forget it.
Kami knew there would be a stalemate regarding this, and so he had to take a different approach. In this timeline, he has a little more leverage going into this than before, and I think you all know what that is.
I understand your trepidation in this venture, Piccolo, but it's like you told the others. Having a being like Frieza around, who is far stronger than anyone here, including yourself, is a risky move. If he were to grow weary, like he so often did in the past, he could easily turn his boredom onto any one of you. If we fuse together, we might at least provide some compelling resistance in addition to what is going on behind that door.
He motions to the door to the Room of Spirit and Time. You know, that place where Goku and Broly are currently training?
Why can't we just wait for them to come out? Why do I have to listen to your inane idea?
Kami looks sternly.
I will not allow any more lives to be extinguished. Piccolo, this is not a request. This is an order from your god. Help me. Help Earth.
This got to the Namekian quite sharply. Even though it was clear he would be a distraction before Goku and Broly appeared, he could get strong and maybe take out an android or two after dealing with this lurking monster that Kami had talked about.
Fine, but I run the show in this fusion. You got that?
Kami smiles. Good. This young one had matured quite a lot in the last few years.
Thank you. Now, we mustn't waste much time. I will not stand in your way. I am but an old man whose time is passing. I will be more than happy to do my bit and cheer you on with what power I have left.
Piccolo did find this rather touching, but the ritual commences, and within a matter of seconds, Kami's body turned to light and found itself fused with Piccolo. Kamikolo was born, and ready to take on any Bugman. Meanwhile, the Dragon team are witnessing Frieza tear 17 apart, and they don't know what to think. 16, who has done pretty much nothing this entire time, remains stoic as usual. And despite 18's plea to go and help her brother, he does not. She has no choice but to jump in and fight Frieza too. This provides the former Empress some interesting challenges. Well, it took you long enough to help your brother, girl. I take it you two aren't exactly close, or whatever it is you androids call companionship. 18 looks enraged by this. You have no right to assume anything, you monster! Frieza chuckles. If that was supposed to make me feel bad, then that was pathetic. I remember all the insults and rhetoric from those who tried to stop me in the past, and those were far more amusing than that. Come on, girl, give me something I can work with. 17 and 18 begin to fight in sync, and this gives Frieza the challenge that he wanted. The gang are debating about whether to actually help or not, but they are still hindered by the reality and constant thought that this is Frieza. They are being really stubborn. They just can't bring themselves to help him, even if he was actually helping them. We move our attention out into space. Trojan is anxiously awaiting the arrival on planet Earth. He had been rehearsing what he would say to his dear brother for ages, and thanks to Cooler's act of insubordination, he had managed to get some good ideas on his plate. He had also taken to staying in his second form most of the time. He liked this feeling of power, as well as the additional height, looming over everyone on the ship. After all, he was King Cold's son after all, and he spent a lot of time with the now departed king prior to, the whole deal in Part 7. But the crew of the ship did not consider him anything like their former king. They thought he was crazy. As I said, chaotic. Oh, the Empire? Trojan didn't give a hoot about the Empire. All that mattered to him right now was to get rid of Frieza, like his daddy wanted. He was taking that request far too seriously. As for what he would do afterwards, he had no clue. He hadn't thought that far ahead, and nor did he wish to. Cooler had been relegated to his quarters, not much better than Vegeta's. He was also kept under close observation by 2 guards outside. If he had so much as put a toe outside of his room unattended, Trojan would blast him away on the spot. As for Vegeta, he had to think of a plan to get under Trojan's nose and get the Dragon Balls before he could. But how? He too was guarded. All the prince could do was just play back the moment when Yardrat was destroyed. All because of him. Then, on the intercom, Trojan requested Vegeta's presence on the bridge. The prince, uncertain of what was to come. When he got there, Trojan greeted him cordially, as if he wasn't crazy.
Vegeta. I wish to thank you for your services, but I am afraid that you are no longer needed in this venture. My oldest brother wished to inform me of that personally, but I am afraid he's a little bit under the weather.
Silence fills the deck.
Is that it?
Trojan nods and looks viciously at him, whilst trying to keep up a sense of calm.
Oh yes, as a mark of my respect and my immense generosity, I have prepared a small vessel for you to head off into the stars, doing whatever you monkeys do. Just one little condition before you go. Please don't head for Earth, or else you might find yourself caught in the crossfire. Can your little brain handle that little humble request?
Vegeta looks at Trojan with vicious intent.
Never, ever underestimate a Saiyan Trojan.
He walks out, Trojan not paying any attention. Vegeta walks out, but the guards that had escorted him to the bridge didn't follow him. In fact, he isn't bothered the entire walk down to the hangar. This is too easy. Vegeta gets to the hangar and then sees a collection of ships, one being earmarked for himself, prepared to leave. Minutes later, Trojan can see that ship heading away from the main vessel.
Oh, Vegeta, if only your monkey brain hadn't let you down, you might have made a decent punching bag. Goodbye.
And gazes at the craft, but nothing happens. Trojan looks down at the switch and presses it again, Still nothing. More presses, and still more nothing. Then a buzz on the intercom erupts, and emerges a familiar voice.
What did I just say, Trojan? Never, ever underestimate a Saiyan. It might just come back and blow up in your face.
Trojan is about to say something before in retort, then a sudden explosion rocks the hangar, sending dozens of engineers off into space, along with plenty of debris. In the chaos, the hole is sealed up, but before Trojan can utter a response, Vegeta's ship had disappeared from visual and firing range. Inside said craft, Vegeta smirks.
You seriously are as arrogant as your father, leaving me to my own devices thinking I would blindly trust you? What an amateur.
He sets a course for Earth, as fast as the little vessel can take him. Thanks to that explosion, he had bought the Earthlings some time, and finally been able to begin the repair the damage that he had caused our heroes. Next up we have Piccolo encountering Cell, and that fight goes as well as you can expect, with Cell absorbing Piccolo's arm, that breaking off, regenerating. He gains enough biomass to now feel a bit more bullish.
This has been rather illuminating, Piccolo. But I have myself a rather important dinner engagement to get to.
Piccolo is about to spout a retort before he is overwhelmed with a solar flare and left dazzled. When the light dissipates, Cell is gone and is heading towards the Dragon team. Piccolo darts off in pursuit. When the Bugman gets there, he witnesses something that makes him sick to whatever he calls a stomach. He could see that his siblings are in grave danger. They are left struggling to stand at the feet of Frieza, who is looking a little scuffed up but triumphant.
No.
The insect hisses under his breath. Meanwhile, Frieza is waxing lyrical, as you would expect.
It's been a pleasure, children, but I have a bet to win, so goodbye.
Frieza is about to fire a dual death beam, the twins looking horrified at their sudden defeat. 16 is now looking worried himself, despite his desire not to intervene because, that's not Son Goku. He couldn't help but feel nervous.
Wait!
Said an unearthly voice. Cell leaps into view and stands in front of 17 and 18, the Bugman hatching a plan, one that involved changing his role a little bit.
I will not let you harm my dear siblings.
Siblings? Mutters 17, 16 looking a bit suspicious. How could you be our sibling? You look something that we used to squish your own magnifying glasses at.
Oh, brother, as acerbic as ever. We are siblings courtesy of the late Doctor. I am here to save you from this freak.
Frieza lets out a laugh. Freak? I think you're one to talk. For once, you and the Runt are in agreement. You look quite frighteningly ugly. Now stand aside, or else you will share the same fate as your siblings. Cell thinks for a moment and then formulates part of another plan to survive and thrive.
Brother, sister, if we combine our efforts, we will be able to win. I knew it.
18, trying to hide a disgust, retorts. Seriously? This guy is way too powerful for the both of us. How can you change that?
Trust me, sister. I have the perfect plan. Together, we will become stronger than anything you could possibly imagine.
This catches Frieza's interest. Stronger, you say? You mean I might actually get a proper fight out of this silly bet of Goku's? Very well. As you were. Trunks gasps in horror. You mean he's gonna just go and let this happen? How can he just stand there and do this? Little did they know that Frieza was doing exactly what Goku did with him back on Namek, allowing the former Emperor to reach his full power. Had Goku's presence in his life left more of an impact than he'd first thought? Before the siblings can react, Cell's tail extends and envelops them both, causing a gigantic flash of light to erupt from the scene, engulfing Frieza and a wide range around them. When it settles, what is left is a far different beast, what we know as Perfect Cell. I have to hand it to you, Frieza. Your DNA is rather handy in this situation. Thanks to it, I have reached a level of power far beyond anything in existence. I have become perfect, and I have you to thank. Piccolo lands amongst the group and is confused.
How? Frieza's never been on this planet before. How did he get his DNA?
I am not from around here, Namekian. I am from a different timeline. Your lavender friend there can fill you in on how that works. In my dimension, Frieza did stop by, and thanks to that, you now witness me. Back at Goku's house, Yamcha is looking absolutely petrified at what he can sense. Kit and Chilai ask what's going on to their new bandit friend, and all he can do is stammer something.
Your friend has doomed us all.
Indeed, in Piccolo's eyes, Frieza had let this perfect cell transform.
I knew it. We're too late to stop him. All we can do is hope Goku gets here to right this.
Frieza doesn't seem all that worried though. But he then gets a face full of Cell, with many flurries of blows being aimed at his direction, which leaves the changeling in a spot of bother. Cell is loving this feeling of dominance, as well as the fear that is emanating from the rest of the team.
You surprise me, Frieza. I thought you would have acted less like a Saiyan in allowing me to reach my true power. Have those monkeys really softened you up so much? You want to lose this badly?
Frieza spits out some of his blood and smirks.
Perhaps. Those Saiyans are rather unforgettable, aren't they? But ironically, you coming around has given me the perfect opportunity to test something out. An old friend of mine showed me the error of my ways of thinking I was the most superior being. Now, though, I know I am the most superior being.
Frieza lets out a roar, which shakes the ground. A golden flash bursts out from his body, and shining light pushes Cell back several feet. And when that light clears, Cell is left stunned. He witnesses Golden Frieza.
What? What is this? How is this possible? Your DNA doesn't... It can't!
Cell is left dumbfounded in the immediacy of it all, but Frieza is steadfast.
Quite simple. I trained. All that power left untapped. It's something wonderful.
With that, Cell's Saiyan DNA takes charge, and he relishes in the challenge. But this is not a two-way fight, not even close. Put simply, Frieza is dominating. Cell is left battered and bruised and left horror-struck, as are the rest of the Dragon team. So this was Frieza's plan, to show off this new power? Why hadn't he just done this before? The androids would have been gone in seconds.
What? How? I'm supposed to be the perfect being!
Frieza yawns and sighs.
You already said that, bug boy. It's ever so tiresome. Now, how about you stop mewling and start listening?
What? How dare you mock me?
Frieza puts a finger up, as if to shut Cell up.
If there is indeed part of me in that thick head of yours, then you will understand what I'm about to ask of you. Let's make a deal. Do you want to fight against something stronger than I?
Careful, Cell. Your Vegeta's showing. Go on. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you folks think? Is Frieza playing a dangerous game in reasoning with the Frieza and Cell? Will Cell even be useful against a potentially immense Trojan? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!